Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson, the host of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I want to talk to you today about my friends over at Superfriends Signatures. These guys have all kinds of wrestling products, past and present. They sell action figures, autographed pictures, you name it, they have it. My friends David Harrow and Brian Koenig, they are the real deal. Go to their website today, superfriendssignatures.com, or go to their Facebook page, Superfriends Signatures. Check them out, folks. You will not regret it. They have great prices and great deals on all kinds of products. And every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, they have an auction online at their Facebook page. So please check it out, Superfriends Signatures today, and enjoy the podcast. The talk of wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today is a rising star on the independent pro wrestling circuit. He is called Astonishing by himself and fans alike. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Astonishing, awesome Mulitalo. Thanks for coming on today.
Woo woo! Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Hey, I saw you a few months back in Springfield, Missouri, and you were wrestling. I believe it was Colton Vaughn, Must See TV.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, it was one of my favorite matches of the night. And I'll be honest, I didn't know who you were before. But I said, and this is the truth. I said, this kid's got something. This kid's got something. You had the walk, the charisma, the ability in the ring. And so I applaud you for that. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on here. So, all right, my friend, we're going to start off a little bit. You're from Missouri?
So I'm originally from New Zealand. I was born there, and then
Okay.
I moved in California for a couple of years, but I've lived in Missouri most
of my life. Okay. So tell us about where you grew up, how you grew up, any schooling you've done besides high school, things like that, and we'll get involved in the wrestling thing.
Okay. Yeah. So I was born in Auckland, New Zealand. I lived there for a couple of years until I was about 4. And then after that, my mom and I moved back to the States. We lived in California for not too long, maybe like a year or so. And then we moved down to Missouri. I used to live in Falcon, Missouri with my grandparents. And then probably about 2007-ish, I was in like 2nd grade. We moved to Lebanon, Missouri, and I've lived here since. I went to Lebanon High School. I had quite eventful high school years.
Yeah.
And then as far as schooling goes, I've got a little bit of college underneath me. As I was college was kind of a weird thing for me because like I graduated the year right before COVID. So me and all of my friends, we started our first year of college, and then the world shut down and things got a little weird for a little bit. And I don't want to say I lost my passion for college, but in the end game of what I wanted to do, college wasn't necessarily like something that was on my bucket list.
Yeah.
I do plan on going to college. I do plan on it, but being a wrestler first and foremost was everything I wanted to do. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be honest, I didn't go to college till I was in my 30s. So I turned out okay.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, like the biggest thing is that, like, I don't have anybody that pays for my college. The military pays for it. So, I mean, that's a cool thing and all. But, all my friends right now that, their parents pay for their college, or they've got student loans or any scholarships, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
they're kind of just going to college because it's the mold, right? Everybody's supposed to go to college. If you
Yeah.
don't go to college, you're not successful.
Yeah.
And I kind of argued with that a lot because like I think college is a good thing,
Hmm.
but for me in my life, college is kind of like a backup plan for me, right? It's something to fall back on. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like all I've ever wanted to be is a professional wrestler. So
All right. Yeah.
I just
And
follow
let's
the
talk
dreams.
about that. Let's talk about that. So I did a little research on you.
Oh, okay.
You did the Harley Race Wrestling Academy.
Yep. Sure
And let me
did.
tell you, I've followed Harley's academy while he was still alive, and after his passing, his son has kind of taken over the realms of that, Leland.
Yep.
What was that like for you going to that place up there? Did you go to the one in Troy?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so tell us about your experience at the Harley Race Wrestling Academy. I'm sure it was quite an experience.
Yeah. So just kind of going back off what I said about the college thing.
Hmm.
In 2020, I was trying to kind of figure out what I wanted to do because I've always wanted to be a professional wrestler, but I always had the thought in the back of my head. It's like, can I really be a wrestler? Can I really do this? And I got to thinking, and then bam, I go on Facebook and I look in my ads or whatever, which I think Facebook watches things. I don't know. It's a little weird, but it's a little weird. But I see an ad for the Harley Race Wrestling Academy. Classes start in July 2020. So I was like, okay. So I actually I reached out because they were doing a training camp, like a 2-day camp or whatever. I don't know if it was a training camp or like a tryout
Okay.
because at the Harley Race Academy, like you have to pass a tryout. So it's pretty much just a bunch of conditioning drills, a few bump drills and stuff like that. And they don't expect anybody to know what they're doing, but the train at our school, you have to be committed. You have
Mhm.
to have that passion. You've got to be desirable to train. So that's kind of what it is. However, COVID kind of canceled that, so I didn't end up going. But I ended up catching one of the last shows before they kind of went into their shutdown or whatever up there
Mhm.
in whatever counties Troy, Missouri's in. And
Mhm.
man, I was hooked. I saw
Yeah.
guys like Superstar Steve. I saw
Yeah.
Leland. I saw Derek Stone, Moses, CTV, Sean Patrick, Stefan Newton. I saw a bunch of guys, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is legit. Because I've been to a couple independent shows before this when I was like 16, 17 years old, and
Mhm.
it was pretty cool. But they didn't really they didn't make me believe in the wrestling, if that made sense.
Yeah.
You
No, it
you just
does.
saw a bunch of like flips and just like leg slapping and just all kinds of stuff, and it just wasn't believable to me.
Yeah.
Um, but the funny thing about all this is that probably when I was like 11 years old, the Harley Race School used to be in Eldon, Missouri, which is
Yep.
like an hour from where I live because I live in Lebanon, and you
Mhm.
take North 5 up to Camdenton and then through Osage Beach to Eldon. So it was really close.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like I could see myself going there. Cool. And then I was very disappointed when I looked more into the Harley Race School that I found out that it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes just one way from where I live. So I was like, man, that
Yeah.
sucks. But at the same time, at that point in my life, I was like, and I'm always this way with things. I don't really like to, halfway things. Like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna go into it, right?
Yeah.
So um, after that show, I got a hold of Leland, Harley's son, and I was like, hey, I want to do this. I will do whatever it takes. I want to train here. So I started training, I think July 20th of 2020. And man, I'll tell you what, my first 3 months was rough. Because I was doing things that my body has never been through before. I was taking, like, I think the first 3 months, we didn't really learn anything. We just learned how to take bumps. It was
Hmm.
bumps after bumps after bumps. And then Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I'm driving back and forth all the way up to Troy and back every
Oh,
night,
wow.
uh, still working. So I kind of had a little circuit, if that made sense. So I would get off of work at like 1, and then I would drive all the way up to Troy. I'd get there around like 4 o'clock. I would train for the 3 hours, and then we get done at 8. I drive all the way back to Camdenton because that's where I went to the gym at. So by the time I got there, it was probably like 10:30. I would work out
Hmm.
for an hour, and then I'd drive about 30 minutes home, and then same thing over and over again.
Wow.
Uh, but I mean, like when I first started, I was determined, very determined, because there was a lot of guys on the roster, especially just around the wrestling scene.
Hmm.
And I'm very grateful for how I kind of came up in wrestling, because like a lot of wrestlers, not calling out any schools or anything, but their students will train for 3 or 4 months, and then they start wrestling on shows, they start having matches and all that kind of stuff. However, I had about a year and a half, almost 2 years, to where I wasn't on shows wrestling. I was
Hmm.
training, and I was at other shows. I was watching. I was being a young lion. I was helping people get in the ring, grab their stuff, concessions, whatever it was. Like, I was doing
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
However, when I was doing those things, I was watching, and I got to watch a lot of things. I got to watch, kind of what mistakes not to make, how to work as a heel, how to work as a baby face. And along the way, I had a lot of ideas and, just way to make things my own. But,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I trained at the Harley Race Academy. Um, there was a couple breaks in between when we were wrestling or training, my bad, because of COVID. COVID would stop a lot of the times, and
Yeah.
then I was gone for a little bit because I had to go do some pre-deployment training for the Army. So
Yeah.
altogether, yeah, it took me a while to be able to get to the point where I was going to have my first match. But like I said, I'm very grateful of the journey I had, because it was very frustrating,
Hmm.
especially seeing people that not only that I trained with, that we started together and they started wrestling before me, but having people that uh, started way after me start wrestling on shows before me. So
Yeah.
I was a little bitter. I'll admit I was a little bitter, but uh, I believe everything happens for a reason. And in the
Hmm.
back of my head, I always tell myself, when it's my time, I'm gonna shine.
Yeah.
You know, uh,
Yeah.
they give me one opportunity, I'm gonna knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder what could have been with the AWA had things gone differently? Had their fortunes gone differently? Had certain wrestlers not left and perhaps more money would have been at the disposal of the Ganyas? Well, wonder no further. You can go to Brad Drake's YouTube channel and experience the 1987 Supermod for yourself, as Brad Drake starts off in May 1987 along with Greg Gagne, Baron von Raschke, Vern Gagne himself, Nick Bockwinkel, Larry Zabisco, Kurt Hennig, and a slew of others as he plays and saves the AWA.
Now, and I know you're a soldier in the Army. Uh, Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you, thank
And
you.
are you a guardsman? Are you in active duty, or were you, or how is that?
So I've been National Guard my whole career. However,
Okay.
I'm active duty National Guard, so I'm AGR.
Okay. AGR. Yep.
AGR, it's the secret sauce of the Army.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I've been in since 2017.
Okay.
And I'm actually getting up in November. It's the end of my first contract. So
Okay.
I'm still in a little period where I don't know if I'm going to re-enlist or not.
Okay.
But odds are I think I might, because
Yeah.
it's an awesome thing for me, especially. And the cool part is that I've been active duty pretty much my whole contract, except for like maybe six months because I was in high school. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
Good for you. That's great. I understand. I was in the Army.
Oh, cool.
Uh, yeah, I did it for a long time.
Oh,
Longer than you've been alive. I was in there for 26 years. So I loved it. I
officer.
enjoyed it. Yep. Yep. So
Were
I
you
was an
enlisted
officer.
or
I
officer?
was both.
Oh, okay.
I did half my time. The first half I was enlisted, uh, drill sergeant, all that, you name it.
Oh,
Did
wow.
it. And then I switched over to officer. I retired 8 years ago now as a captain. But I give
Oh, wow.
kudos to you because it's a demanding. It can be demanding and at times. So kudos to you. But how is that with your wrestling? Do they frown on it? Do they say anything? Do they just say, "Oh, just don't get hurt," or how's that work out?
So, uh, so, and I'm glad you're in the Army because you could probably understand it a little bit more, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody that's not in the Army or has any military experience, they ask me these questions all the time, and I try to explain it to them, but it doesn't really make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, so I was in recruiting for about let's say like 4 years, I think.
Okay.
So in recruiting for a good part of my recruiting time, I wasn't like actually wrestling. I was just going to the shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on the days that I had training, I would usually go in earlier, and then on my way to training, I would work. So I would call people, ask them if they wanted to join the National Guard, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it was also convenient too because for MEPS, our MEPS trips are in St. Louis, right?
Okay.
So when I go up to St. Louis, I'd drop off an applicant, and then I would just drive 45 minutes to Troy. And then I would
Okay.
either stay up in a hotel the next day to go pick them up, or I would sometimes just go back home and then leave at like 8
Shoot
o'clock
up.
in the morning to head back up
Yeah.
there. So
Wow.
I had a long nights with that. But
Yeah.
when I did start recruiting, or not recruiting, but wrestling,
Yeah.
it was a little touchy.
Yeah.
A bunch of my higher up NCOs, like
Mm-hmm.
team leader and N2ICs, they were kind of like, they're like, yeah, good job, heck yeah. But when they started realizing that, oh hey, yeah, he's wrestling out of state, he's gonna have to put in some leave. So for
Oh,
the longest
jeez.
while, yeah, I was burning my leave, and it was very sad. Because I had like 40 something days of leave built up.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but with my
Uh,
job now,
yeah.
it's a lot easier. So I'm a liaison at Fort Leonard Wood. So pretty
Oh,
much
okay.
I advise all the basic training. So I'm the liaison for all the basic training battalions and companies in Fort Leonard.
Ah,
So I pretty much deal with
yeah.
drill sergeants, commanders, private,
Yes.
all
I
kinds
know
of
you
stuff.
guys.
Yeah.
Well,
So
just FYI, I was a drill sergeant there 20 years ago. Just FYI. So it's been a while. I
yeah.
was there in 2002 to 2005. You were just a little kid, probably.
Yep.
You weren't even alive, probably, or just
I was
born.
born. I was born in 2000. So I mean, I was
Okay.
under.
Okay. But yeah, so I understand. Oh, I mean, it's good. I kind of like this because then, people listening to this kind of get a different perspective of you. You're just not some wrestler who went from high school. I mean, you're doing some things with your life. So good for you.
Yeah. 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 It's really cool. Because with my, I mean, not to brag, but
Yeah.
everything that I've done in the military, I've done it a couple steps ahead of my pay grade. When I was recruiting,
Mhm.
you know, I was a specialist doing the job of an E7. And
Mhm.
then now as a liaison, you know, I just got promoted. So
Congratulations.
that's thank you. It's nice. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, no, I'm doing stuff at like the E8, almost E9 level.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm consistently talking with company commanders, you know, O3s, lieutenant colonels, all kinds of stuff, advising them. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, you know, this service member needs this, or you know, hey,
Yeah.
this is how we should do this, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And the awesome part about that too is that I've made a lot of them big wrestling fans because back in February at the Davison Fitness Center on Fort Leonard Wood,
Yeah.
World League Wrestling, they brought wrestling to
Yeah.
the Davidson Fitness Center,
Yeah.
and man, that was awesome. I was wrestling
Yeah.
in front of 1,000 something people, and
That's
then when I
great.
walked out, everybody started freaking out, all the trainees, because they're like, "Whoa, that's my liaison!" Liaison chant, and man,
Yeah.
it's wild.
That's
And
awesome.
it still gets talked about today. Like the drill
Yeah.
sergeants be like, "Hey, where's your fur coat?" And it's like, "Oh, I left it at home, sir."
So let's talk about that. You know, once you started, getting in the ring, what what inspired you to come up with the character, the gimmick that you're doing now, the astonishing one?
Okay, so I'll be straight honest. So when I first started getting into wrestling, I wanted to be like the next Rob Van Dam. Like I wanted to come out with the uh, spray painted singlets.
Yeah.
I can't do it. You know, I wanted to do all the high flying, super cool moves and all that stuff, and like that's what I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to
Hmm.
be a cruiserweight essentially. But when I started taking those bumps and I started learning how to do things, I started learning how things worked in the ring. I figured out quick and fast. I was like, that's not for me. 450s, no, thank you. I'm sure I
Yeah.
can do one, but doesn't mean I want to do it. And that's the really cool thing about where I, you know, learned how to wrestle at, because
Hmm.
not only did we get all the Harley race stories, but
Hmm.
you know, they taught us why what we do matters. You know,
Yeah.
how to have longevity with our wrestling.
Yep.
And a great example is a guy like Superstar Steve.
Yeah.
Like Superstar Steve, if you watched him back when, you know, he was my age wrestling, when he first broke into business, he used to do a bunch of crazy stuff. But under the learning tree of Harley Race, not only did
Hmm.
his wrestling get better, but he got to tell more stories, and
Yeah.
his longevity and his body, it's insane. And you
Yeah.
look at him now, like he's got,
Yeah.
you know, he's got the beer belly and all that stuff, but he can go.
Yeah.
But about a little bit before I started having practice matches and stuff like that, that's when I kind of started digging deep into kind of what I wanted to do. So in not in high school, but I guess in high school, just in school, I guess.
Yeah.
When I would do things, I would get called Astonishing Austin, and that's kind of how it clicked for me. And when I was a kid, I would
Yeah.
used to, because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. So when I'd come home, I'd have like the WWE games. I would
Yeah.
make a character of myself. I would put Astonishing Austin Mulitalo. I'd put it on my tights. I would tag team with all my favorite wrestlers. I do a bunch of stuff like that. So initially, when I first was thinking about stuff, I was like, okay, you know, I want to be the guy in the game. You know, that's what I want to be. So, you
Yeah.
know, I had gear drawn out, you know, of they're kind of like Buddy Murphy's like rip shorts or whatever he wears, stuff like that, kick
Hmm.
pad, you know, wrist gauntlets, all that kind of stuff. And like that's what I wanted to be. But when I ordered the gear, and this is a very important part of my career, very important. Um, when I bought the gear, I got it custom made, everything. When it came to my house, I dropped everything I was doing. I put on the gear and I looked in the mirror and I was like, this isn't me. Like, this doesn't feel right at all. So not only was I disappointed that I just blew like 200 something dollars on gear that I'm not going to wear, but I was just kind of disappointed because I was like, well, shoot, that's what I wanted to be. What the heck?
Yeah.
So furthermore, I kind of went into a rabbit hole of like old school wrestling. Essentially, I started watching a bunch of World of Sport. I started watching a bunch of like Billy Robinson, Johnny Saints. I started watching a bunch of Regal stuff, and then I started watching a bunch of stuff from Japan too, like Jushin Thunder Liger. And then my eyes got caught on one person, and that was Ravishing Rick Rude. Man, Ravishing Rick Rude to me, like, he's the perfect wrestling character. And I say that because regardless of what he does, you know, it could be the same gimmick. However, it can be presented as a babyface. They can be presented as a heel. And they both work perfectly. So essentially, and this is the worst part about my wrestling career, because I'm too nice. And people, like, I just have a baby face. So
yes, you do.
Everybody that's told me anytime I was about to break into the business, they're like, oh yeah, you're going to be a baby face. You're going to be a baby face. And that's cool for me. You know, I like to be a baby face. But I was thinking about this as far as character wise. I'm like, what if I could be like a baby face Rick Rude? So I kind of started thinking about stuff, and then piece by piece, I kind of started assembling, you know, what was my wrestling character. And like me in general, I like to wear like poppy colors. Like I like the flash colors. A lot of it's just because of like, I'm half Samoan, so I don't look Samoan. But if you put like a light color or a dark color t-shirt or something on me, my skin pops. So when I started thinking about that, I was starting things like, okay, well, what if I get like some bright pink tights made, right? So that's where I started. I started getting bright pink tights. I got white kick pads, white boots. And then for a while, I was rocking like a leather jacket with like a fur thing on it. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then, well, I'll just say this. So my first year into wrestling, so I had my first match March of last year. So for a good majority of my first year, I was wrestling, but I didn't really know who I was or what I was. And there's still a little bit of me that's still trying to figure stuff out, and it just comes with time. But I don't think it was until I got hurt last September that I kind of started piecing together what I really wanted to be. Because in the back of my head, like I said, I was babyface Rick Rude. But when I got hurt, I had about 2 months that I wasn't training. I couldn't work out. I couldn't do anything. I was just trying to heal up my shoulder. So I was at home just watching tape after tape after tape. And when I started watching stuff, I started thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, so what if I did the same thing? However, I did it this way. Or, you know, okay, he just did an up and over and the guy sold the buckle. What if I sell a little bit differently? What if I do something else? And for me, that's what kind of popped, because I might get some heat for this, but it's super easy. I feel like it's super easy to be different in professional wrestling in these days, because everybody does the same thing. Everybody wears the same gear. Everybody kind of has a look, not the same look, but like they have a look to them. So for me, my main focus wasn't on, you know, who I was as a character or who I was as a wrestler. It's, okay, what can I do that will set me apart and make me different? So started looking into some stuff, and I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? Because I like the movie Zoolander. Have you ever watched Zoolander?
I've seen Zoolander,
So I love that movie. I was watching it and I was like, wow, okay, I see these fur coats. All right. So I decided to get some fur coats. Nobody does it. You don't see anybody with big fur coats. You see people with robes, but not big fur coats. So that was kind of one thing. And then, I started getting into some gear making, and, I started making a wardrobe for myself. And now I have a look, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
when people see that I'm on a card, there's a couple things that go through people's heads. It's like, okay, is he going to be a baby face or is he going to be a heel?
Yeah.
Because Astonishing Austin Mulitalo, the character, if he's a baby face and a heel, they're two vastly different things. Like, and it's awesome for people. It's awesome for me to see, because I'll see a bunch of fans that go to all the different shows, different promotions. And when I come out and they're expecting, the happy-go-lucky baby face, and then they see me just murdering people on the mic, they're shook.
Do you ever wonder what would happen if
you give a dad a podcast?
Ladies and gentlemen,
just settle this debate right here, right now. It's not even just the greatest PlayStation game. It's the greatest game ever.
Not to toot my own horn, but
exactly.
Yeah, I remember he kicked me so hard I thought I owed him money.
I love it. I'm excited for this one.
He goes, "What is your name?" And I was like, "It's Thrash."
I'm getting punched in the face on the daily.
Man, this guy won't shut up.
I wear that as a badge of honor.
Yeah, I got knocked out cold in that match. It was awesome. So awesome.
We make dogs sing.
Do you always do these interviews with your shirt off?
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
So now we've been filming for the last 6 months.
I panicked.
Followed by...
Bro.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Like, it looks like I just punched him or something. It's brutal. And then when people expect me to be, Trout, I can't talk, expecting to be this nasty heel, and I'm just like, I'm getting them invested in my match with my energy and my fire. They go from loving to hate me to just loving me. And that's the biggest, that's so awesome to me. Yeah. Like that Springfield match. That was very hard for me, because not only was that match, it was close to home. I had so many people there that knew me. Colton was a guy that actually got me to go to the Harley Race Academy, because he was, I saw that he lived very local. He lived in Springfield. So I gave him a shout and I was like, "Hey man, I'm just wanting to get some information. I saw that you went to the Harley Race School and all that stuff." And a couple months later, he left me on red, by the way. So there's that. So, because he thought I was just a fan. But I went to a club in Springfield and I saw a bunch of friends that I know from school. I was like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And then I bump into this dude and we look at each other and I'm like, "Yo, you're Colton Vaught." And he's like, "Yeah, baby, that's me." And we hugged and we took a picture and he apologized and stuff. But that's another reason why it was hard for me, because I wanted to wrestle Colton so bad. I want to be a tag team with Colton. Colton is like a hero in my eyes, because not only was he a small guy, he's fit, but he does do flippy things, but that's not all he does.
Right.
Colton can go. And not only can Colton go, it doesn't matter if you love him or hate him. He will get you invested in what we're doing. And I love that. So for me, that was kind of a hard thing, because the last time I was in Springfield, I wrestled Tim Rockwell. And I was a baby face. So, everybody loved me when I came out there and I did my thing. So this time around, not only did I have to overcome that, but I had, in a sense, I had to bring out more emotion than Colton was. Yeah. Or bring out more emotion in the people than Colton was, because as a heel, I mean, that's kind of what you do. You know, like
Yeah.
the fans want Colton to hit a moonsault. You know, it's oh my gosh, they're so close, and then no, and then you work back towards it, and then he hits the moonsault. But that match, man, like I was having a rough time before the match because I was getting nervous. I was like, oh man, like this is like I have to do my absolute best in this match. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And when we went out there, in the first 5 minutes, everybody was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And even prior to this too, I cut a promo on Facebook for Colton. And man, not only did I get roasted and brutalized by all these random people that I didn't know, but like it got so many shares and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was everybody that was a Colton Vought fan that night came out with the intention to just kill me, essentially. Like I was not at all.
It was a great match. Like I said, that was the first time I saw you, and I was really impressed because I've seen Colton before. He wrestled Luke Langley another time before there in Springfield, and they had a phenomenal match. And when I saw you out there with him, and the way you guys, your chemistry together, it was just, I was like, man, this kid's got something. And so I do these podcasts. I said, I'm going to ask him to come on, and you did, thank you. And then I started doing some research, and you guys, I'll say this, I'm part of what's called the WFIA, it's the Wrestling Fans International Association. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's coming back. Anyways, I wrote an article, and you were one of the guys that I picked to be on the rise.
Okay.
And you, Colton Vaughn, and a couple other people, Joe Helms, a few others, females. So I was just very impressed. And I will say Jason Jones runs a very well-oiled machine for an organization, in my eyes.
He does.
I mean, when you guys are there at the show, from the time those doors open until the doors shut, it's always professional, and you're good to the fans. Even if you're a heel, you know, when you're at your table and stuff, you're not rude and obnoxious and all this other stuff.
Oh man.
And that's what I love the most is that I didn't go to your table, but but most of the other guys, you know, I mean, they're a little bit, but I mean, I'm saying they're not pushing your merchandise either. And I've always told Jason that. You guys, I mean, he's, you know, you go up there, you want to take a picture, it's not $10. It's okay, I'll take a picture. You know, you're not pushing your stuff. So I look at your stuff, I'll say, you know what, I'm going to get a t-shirt. I'm going to get a picture. Can you sign that for me? You bet. Things like that. That means a lot. Because some other places, they just want your money. Okay, yeah. Hey, you got to take a picture of me. It's $10.
I was just talking about this the other day.
I saw the post. I saw it.
Yeah,
I saw you. You said I got a rant. I heard. I saw it.
Yeah,
and I thought it was great because that, to me, coming from a wrestler, shows me that you have it. You have not only a passion for the business, but a respect for the fans, and I appreciate that. And you're a young man. What are you, 22 years old?
Yeah, 22.
22 years old, and having that kind of maturity. I mean, that says something. It says your mom raised you right, so kudos to her.
And just to touch up on that, no, like the reason why it was just bothering me so much is because I'm seeing it in a bunch of different places that I'm going, because now I'm to the point where I'm kind of going on circuits, you know, in Tennessee, Illinois, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas. And I feel like each wrestling scene, you know, it's a little bit different from, you know, what it is in Missouri. But like I'll use Tennessee and Arkansas, for example. So there's a lot of wrestling down there, right? Like there's some that are good, there's some that are bad, but there's one thing that you can't say is you can't not find a wrestling show. Like,
right.
You can go down a road and near Jonesboro, and there's like 3 different wrestling that are going on, and it's not monthly, it's weekly. So, I see that, and, and the wrestling down there, a lot of it's not that good. However, the fans love it. And, not sound like a douche, but the fans don't know better. They don't understand the wrestling business, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. But things that I don't like that I'm seeing is that I'm seeing these fans that, they don't have the best home life. They might not have the best paying job, but there's just one thing that keeps them going throughout the week, and that's wrestling on Friday night. That's wrestling on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And not only do they devote their time and that hard-earned money to the show, but when they see their favorite wrestler, somebody that not only do they buy merch from, shirts, anything, they support them all the way. They share their stuff on Facebook, Instagram. They go up to them and be like, "Hey, can I get a selfie with you?" And there's like, "Yeah, sure." That'll be $20. And the sad thing is that I see it happen all the time, and people pay the money, and it's just like that's to me that's kind of disrespectful. And I say disrespectful because it doesn't matter how famous or how successful I am as a wrestler or how good of a wrestler I am. I can't do anything or go anywhere without the fans.
Yeah.
If I do not have the fans invested in me and what I'm doing, I'm not going to be successful. Doesn't matter if you're a baby face. It doesn't matter if you're a heel. You have to keep them invested, and you have to show them that you care. And investment for me, that means the world. Like, if you take your time out of your busy day, because I have a very busy day, I have very busy weeks, months. I'm always busy, but I will always take time. I will always make time for people. And if a fan ever does that to me or for me, essentially, I'm going to give them my time. I'm going to show them that respect because, they came out and they supported me. And same thing, vice versa. I'll support them on whatever they need. And I don't know. I think people have just lost sight of that. It's, and to be honest, they're getting greedy, but it's not even that much money, especially on independent sales. But that's why you work. That's why you build a fan base, and that's why you keep going. And it's just people don't understand it anymore.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I appreciate that what you just said, because it is a lost art in that department. Couple more questions for you, my friend.
Okay.
One is, who is, besides Must See TV, one of your favorite people that you've worked with, either as an opponent in the ring or as a tag team?
Ooh.
Besides Must See TV, you can't use him.
Yeah.
Because you already said he's one of your guys, so.
Yeah. I guess I've really got two. These are the two people that I've probably wrestled the most. Superstar Steve and then Luke Langley.
Luke Langley. Love that guy.
Yeah. And for two different reasons. So Superstar Steve, he also trained me to become a professional wrestler. So when I wrestle Steve, it's kind of put up or shut up for me. Because because he was my second match, and I remember going into my second match thinking, I've got this, I'm good, like I can keep up. And when we locked up and we started wrestling, like I was like, I'm not as good as what I just said I was. So wrestling Steve makes me quite humble, but at the same time, after every time I wrestle Steve, I get better. I keep getting better. And like, there's just something magical about that for me. And every time since. And I think I've wrestled him like 5 times now. Every single time I wrestle him, I can tell how much better I've gotten, and he can tell exactly too. And that's cool for me because, you know, being somebody that helped broke me into the business, I'm not really a person that really cares what people think about me. At the end of the day, I'm still going to do me. But Steve is someone that I weigh heavy on for, you know, advice or his opinion, because he's world renowned. Like, he's been all over. He was trained by Harley Race, and you know, Steve is very knowledgeable. And I think it's very unfortunate that there's people that I share the locker rooms with that think that, 1, they're better than Steve, and 2, they're above his advice, because they're not. They're not.
Right. Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to thewfia.org, that's THEWFIA.org, and become a member today.
And then for Luke is a whole different kind of wrestler. Luke is somebody that, in my opinion, I'm surprised that he isn't on, you know, WWE or AEW, NWA, because he's so good. Steve's the kind of wrestler that you could put on any match on any card, and it would probably be one of the best matches of the night. He can wrestle anybody, any style. He can do all that stuff. Essentially, in my eyes, he's kind of like a younger version of Steve. And he's also so knowledgeable too. And wrestling him, like, it's insane. The first match I had with him, I didn't even know I was wrestling him. So it was, I think it was July of 21. Or no, 22, my bad. It was last year. And I was supposed to wrestle somebody else, I think Dr. Eisen. But somebody didn't show up, and they switched around the card. And I was like, oh, man, am I not going to have a match tonight? And Scott, the promoter of New Breed, he was egging me on. He was like, oh, yeah, no, probably not tonight. But, I mean, if we need you for something, you know, you'll be there. I was like, okay. And then he's like, just kidding. I've got a match for you tonight. I was like, oh, who is it? He's like, not telling you. I'm like, okay. And then probably about an hour before the show starts, I find out who my opponent is, and it's Luke Langley. And I was like, oh, that's sick. That's awesome. So, yeah, I felt really bad that night, because I think we were like the 3rd or 2nd match on the card, and we just completely blew away all the other matches. And like, went back, it was kind of awkward, just kind of walking through the crowd of very upset people. And it's like, but I mean, we didn't even have a crazy match either. Like, it was just 10 minutes of him and I wrestling hold for hold, making everything make sense, and we were telling a story. And every match that we've had since, you know, it's and this is the cool thing too, because it hasn't necessarily been in the same promotion, but our story keeps going on. You know, we wrestled first in New Breed, and then we wrestled again in Mid States. And at Mid States, it was a little weird too, because he was a heel and I was a baby face. But at Mid States, we flipped to rooted. So he was the baby face and I was the heel. And then back in December, he came back to New Breed Wrestling, and he beat me for the New Breed Wrestling United States Championship. And right now, him and I are on a blood feud, I like to say. And, you know, it's coming to fruition in Nixa, Missouri on the 20th, when him and I wrestle again. But we also have Frodo the Ghost in the mix. So it's a triple threat match. I'm not a big fan of triple threat matches, because there's not a whole lot of. So me personally, I like the moves. I like big moves. I like cool moves in wrestling. But I think storytelling is a lot better for me than the moves. Because me as a person, I'm a very I'm a showsman. Like I love to entertain. You know, I love it. You know, I love it.
Yeah.
So I think for that reason, you know, that's just how Luke and I work. You know, it's a story.
Luke, I agree with you 100%. I did a podcast with him 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
I watched that.
Yeah, and what a guy, very humble, you know, but you know, he is a very, to me, like you said, underrated. He should be at the other level. But that's okay, because you know what? Here's the thing. Storytelling, to me, in the AEW, WWE, NWA is not too bad, but those other two, it's kind of a lost art to me. I mean, coming from my era, I'm, you know, quite a bit older than you. And
what? No.
And it to me has kind of lost that. Now you guys at Mid States, New Breed, those, like I said, those WLW World League, those organizations pride themselves on the wrestling and telling the story, and they do it, and they do it right. And that's, to me, the great thing about young guys like yourself being brought up that way correctly. So if you ever do go up, if you get picked up by WWE, and they might tell you get bent, I don't know, when you get up there and they say, hey, this is what I want to do, and they say, no, we're doing this, I don't know, they might change it. But that's what I love about the indies, is that you can tell that story. Yes, there might be only 100, 200 people there, but guess what? That's 100 or 200 people that you're entertaining, that you're giving fans, and they're going to come back probably when you're there again. And guys like yourself, you're 22 years old, bright future ahead of you. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, I mean, speaking of which, one more question, actually two.
Okay.
Which I don't mean to put you on the spot, but promotion-wise, where is the place you've probably enjoyed the most working for? I know you've been to New Breed. You said Mid-States, probably World League. You said you've been to Tennessee and Kansas. Where's probably one of the, I shouldn't say the best, but one of the better places that you, in your mind, these guys treat me good. I have great matches there. The payouts are good. The fans are great. I'll go back there in a second whenever I'm called upon.
So off the top of my head, I'd probably say Mid States.
Yeah.
Man, this is so hard because, like, for me, I like traveling. Traveling's never been an issue for me, but especially like last year and this year. So last year, I started late in the game in the year. My goal was by the end of last year to have 50 matches, and I got to it. Very last day of last year, I got to 50 matches. But you know, I was just grinding. But as far as like go to, man, I can't really pick one because, like,
okay. Well, you said Mid States, and that's where I've seen you. That's where I've seen you.
I'm not trying to.
No,
kiss up
I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but you know, Mid States is a great organization. It truly is. I mean, from the time you walk in the door, you get the greeting. The wrestlers are out there. You even go to the concession stand. You know, Jason's family's running it, but I mean, they're friendly. You know, everybody's friendly, courteous, professional, and that's what I like. And all the wrestlers.
Thing about the locker room at Mid States, there's not really any egos, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to know. See it?
It's a good environment.
All right. Last question. titles. You said something about a title or the United States title from New Breed. Have you won any titles since you started? And if so, what were they?
I have. So
All right.
first title. Wow, that sounded really cocky.
No. All right, let's hear it. I'm excited.
So my first title I won was the American Hostile Championship Wrestling Mid-America Championship. I won that in July of last year. And then my second one I won was the New Breed Wrestling United States Championship.
Okay.
And then the third one was the Mid-Southern Heavyweight okay. There's a lot of abbreviations for these promotions.
Yeah.
But Mid-Southern Championship Wrestling in Osceola, Arkansas. I won the Junior Heavyweight Championship. And then so the night that backtrack. So I wrestled Superstar Steve on a Thursday. And in our match, I completely dislocated my shoulder. So that sucked. I finished the match, and then not only did I wrestle that next Friday, but I wrestled the next Saturday as well. And then I was like, yeah, I should probably get go checked out. So I lost that junior heavyweight title because I got hurt. And then when I came back, I won it back. And then I won the United States Championship. And then and then I'm on track to winning the New Breed Wrestling United States Championship again. And then official, unofficial, but I am announcing myself for the Mid-States Wrestling Kansas Heavyweight Championship on June 2nd in Wichita, Kansas.
All right. I was going to say, what is my last question is, what's on the horizon for you, Austin? What's coming up for you here the next month or so? Hello, everyone. This is Brian Ferguson, the host of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I want to tell you about a new podcast out called Falls Count Anywhere. It is a classic pro wrestling podcast that brings you the legends of wrestling with true wrestling fans Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. They bring on guests that are legends in this business, and as well as wrestlers of today, promoters, referees, you name it. They have them on there, folks, and I encourage you to listen to them. If you're on YouTube, watch them. They drop every Saturday. They have their podcast, and they drop it in the afternoon. So look forward to that podcast coming out. Falls Count Anywhere podcast with Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. Folks, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee it. And enjoy the podcast. As far as wrestling.
So
probably booked out pretty good.
Oh, yeah. So as far as wrestling goes, I've got a bunch of big stuff that I'm about to announce, but I just found out yesterday because I was looking at my schedule. I wrestle every single week throughout the summer at least twice. So that's pretty cool. So this weekend, I've got SICW New Breed Wrestling, St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, super big fan fest ran by Herb Simmons. It's going to be sick. I'm wrestling Superstar Steve, and then I am also in the Bruiser Brody Battle Royal. The weekend after that, I am going to be New Breed Wrestling in Nixa, Missouri, where I'm wrestling Luke Langley and Frodo the Ghost. And then that night, I'm also going to be in Corning, Arkansas for National Wrestling Federation. The week after that, I'm going to be in Sedalia, Missouri for New Breed Wrestling. And then the week after that, and that's about a month. I'm thinking. The week after that, June 2nd is Mid-States Wrestling, Kansas. And then that Saturday is World League Wrestling in Troy, Missouri.
Busy man. And folks, Austin has a website. I'll have that in the description, which is an awesome website, by the way. Did you do that all yourself?
I had some help.
Okay, because I was going to say that picture. I mean, that when you first get on there, you're in the ring. I think it's with Superstar Steve. I can't remember now, but you're in the ring wrestling, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, because you don't see. You usually have pictures. I never seen the actual, so that was cool. He's got a Facebook page. He's got a Twitter page. He's got Instagram, and I'll have that all in the description. One more time, the Astonishing one, Austin Mulitalo. Thank you, sir, for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And folks, if you see his name on the marquee or in a town where he's wrestling, get out there and see him. I'm telling you, and I'm not just saying that because he's on my show tonight. He is astonishing. I mean, the first time I saw the guy, I was really impressed. So good luck and continued success with you, sir. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Astonishing one, Austin Mulitalo. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
If you're watching, folks, thank you. If you're listening, thank you. And if you haven't, please subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.